Now this will be a very controversial topic just looking at the votes, but let's do it. Welcome back, guys. So I think when somebody mentions the anti-farm code in Guild Wars 1, they refer to something like getting less and less drops when farming the same enemies, the same area again and again, hence why I made this poll. It seems that the majority of the players agree with this theory, but personally I have never experienced anything like that. And as a solo farm lover, I had many long farming sessions, even 12 hours or more, but never had issues like progressive reduction of drops. Obviously there are better and there are worse periods when solo farming, and this is completely normal, but to have permanently bad runs or bad luck is very debatable. Now this theory is pretty easy to test. For example, do as many Raptor or Weight tier runs as you can and simply write down your drops in Excel. Obviously, you should do this without breaks, without character change, just one run after the other, all in a row. Now, if this theory is right, we should see less and less drops after some time, something like this. Now, let's see my results. Here is my data. The x-axis is the number of runs, the y-axis is the total amount of drops, so all the whites, the blues, the purples, the golds, tomes, etc., everything summarized. I will show you several charts, several farming sessions, just stop the video where you want. Weight tier's first attempt, 34 runs, around 100 minutes of non-stop farming. Weight tier's second attempt, 32 runs in a row, around 100 minutes again. Raptor's first attempt, 55 runs, roughly 70 minutes. Raptor's second attempt, 60 runs, around 80 minutes of farming. By the way, the reason I couldn't do longer sessions is simple: Favor of the Gods comes too frequently these days due to the increased player base, and it can affect the drops too, hence why I couldn't do these sessions for 2 hours, 3 hours or even longer. I will talk about Favor at the end of this video. Anyway, the big question: do you see a decrease of drops? Is there a trend? I don't see any. Even if there is any trend, it has to be minimal or no trend at all. I could have done some statistical analysis, but felt like the data is not big enough for that. And honestly, to me this is pretty convincing. In my opinion, there is no such thing as diminished drops. It's just an urban legend. After 100 minutes and thousands of fools killed, it should be noticeable. And I think the reason that this theory is so strong even in 2026 is because players look at the small picture. I mean, when players run into a bad period, when they see fewer drops than before for a few runs, most of them stop farming. Periods like these, if they would go on and continue farming, they would see good runs again, the upper side of the roller coaster again. So in my opinion, solo farming has always been like this. Ups and downs are following each other. Now, if you take this non-stop farming to the next level, like if you farm Ectos for 12 hours or something crazy, you can get something similar. These were all live streams. I farmed 100 Ectos as a challenge in one session, and you can find those videos if you're interested. It's pretty obvious that there are no decreased Ecto numbers here. I got my best runs at 5 and 10 hours of farming, and even though I had a no Ecto run too, it's pretty much a random number. And I can show you some other charts too, like Anid Golds, Saurian Bones, Glacial Stones, White items, and I believe there is no decline in any of these series either. So my answer to the question: no, there is no such thing as decreased or diminished drops. Okay, but then what is the anti-farm code exactly? Because it exists, it's even on Wiki and there are proven mechanics and stuff. So Wiki says the following: anti-farm code is the part of Guild Wars software used to reduce the benefits of repeatedly farming a single location, quest or other objective. ANET has published few details about how it works. What little players know is based on limited experimentation and speculation. Official facts: since the first implementation, farming alone will yield fewer total items than farming with a full party, though more items per individual character. Certain items are not affected: skill tomes, scrolls, dye, rare materials, all rare, gold-colored items, all unique, green items, special event items. Meaning it mostly affects white, blue and purple rarity items. So actually this thing is what we call loot scaling. This was introduced in the April 20, 2007 game update. The number of drops you get are scaled to your party size, and to the speed at which enemies are killed. This is proven, 100% works, less items will drop in a one-man party than in an 8-man party, as simple as that. Of course, if you solo the game, you still receive more items than those players who play in 4, 6 or 8-man parties, but not as high as in the past before 2007. So this mechanic exists, but you may find very old Guild Wars videos on YouTube where this loot scaling thing wasn't implemented yet. Take a look, this is some Desert Griffin video from 2006. Very high number of gold coins and white items. Now compare these to today's standards, and I wish I could have farmed the same spot, but this has changed since then. Instead, let's see what happens if I kill many fools in another spot. Yep, you won't get this amount of drops anymore, not even close. So this is the loot scaling. It's a non-mechanic that reduces drops if you solo farm, but there are other mechanics too doing their job in the background. There is only one more official fact on Wiki: repeated map entry does not reduce loot. Yeah, no surprise, I got the same results in the first tests. And actually there aren't any other official facts, just some player tests, and let's see them one by one. Accepted player tests. These theories have been repeatedly tested by multiple players performing a variety of tests under a variety of conditions. The drop rate from the first fools killed in the area is less than normal. After several kills, the rate returns to normal. Some believe that the governing factor is time, some believe it's both time and number of kills. Player researchers speculate that this was implemented to limit boss farming near outposts, but it can be seen near any portal even if there are no bosses. Okay, I was playing with this too and found a pretty good spot in Nebo Terrace at the Tengu farm. To check how many items we lose after zoning, I farmed two groups from two directions. The first version was from Bergen Hot Springs, clearing all the Tengus till the portal to North Krita province. This way I had sufficient kills and time as well, making sure that the drop rate is restored till I reached the chosen two Tengu groups. I recorded all the drops on the last two groups only, and now you can see all the data here. The second to last group averaged 2.28 drops, the last group averaged 2.58 drops. So even after roughly 3 minutes of farming and 20 plus kills, it was still a noticeable difference. I wonder how many fools or how much time should be spent to get the maximum amount of drops. Anyway, now let's see what happens if you farm the exact two groups from the other side too. You know, just after leaving the portal. The first group averaged 0.96 drops, the second group did way better, 1.54 drops. Let's compare the four charts and figure things out. Obviously the first group after entering an area will hardly give you drops compared to the long runs last group. They only dropped 37% of the drops, roughly 60% of the drops appeared if another half minute and a few more kills happened. And obviously as time and kills increased, more and more drops came. Looking at this chart, maybe I should have simply farmed all groups and wrote down the drops like this, but I wanted to save time, hence why this method. The no drop data also speak for themselves. The first group at 24% is pretty bad, but it also shows that you don't need too many kills to restore the drop rate quickly. Now back to Wiki. I'm not surprised that this theory was accepted, pretty easy to test and very noticeable as well. Okay, moving on, disputed, killing too many fools too quickly results in lost drops. Advocates of this theory recommend spike over AoE damage to limit the number of simultaneous or near simultaneous deaths. Critics point out that not every fool drops an item and that necessarily some of the missing drops will occur during simultaneous kills. I wanted to test this and you might have seen me doing weight tiers really slowly. Farming only one enemy at a time is not much fun, but it is what it is. Now if you look at this big pile of drops, you may think that this is awesome, we can revolutionize solo farming, etc. Well, at first glance this looks very promising, 30 or 40 drops each run from a full weight tier run. Compared to the classic spiker variants, this is a huge increase, of course. 5 versus 38 or 40 items on average, so roughly 7 times more items if you kill them slowly. There is a big problem though, the time factor. You know, these slow kill runs took me 20-22 minutes each, and however I got 7 times more drops, it also took me roughly 7 times longer. You know, the normal weight tier runs can be done in less than 3 minutes, even less if you use a dervish, so this comparison can be misleading. Instead, let's multiply things by 7 just to get the same duration, 21-22 minutes in both variants. So now significantly more unit golds, tomes, die and map pieces on the fast version, and it seems that killing slowly increases mostly the white, blue and purple rarity items, the trophies like glacier stones, gold coins and maybe the lockpicks. Now I have only made 5 runs in the slow kill version since each run takes a lot of time to do, so this is not 100% like comparing an apple to another apple thing, but still we can see the difference quite easily. And I'm going to say that this theory is correct. Killing too many fools too quickly does result in lost drops, but I will also add you mostly lose white, blue and purple rarity items, plus the time factor balances things out, and actually you average more gold items from faster runs and probably more profit as well, especially if it's a special event, since you get way more event on the drops from a fast run. Okay, next theory, the drops are seeded when the party enters an area. This was tested by having multiple parties enter the same zone at the same time. Researchers counted drops and also looked at drops from specific foes. The results flew counter to the previous hypothesis. Others have not been able to replicate those results, possibly due to the difficulty in synchronizing entry. Honestly, I'm not even sure what this is supposed to mean, like the drops are predetermined when you enter an area. I don't know, I've never really bothered about this and guess we will never figure this out, seems hard to prove anyway. Okay, repeated farming of the same area results in a progressive reduction of drops. Players that farm raptors and /or weight tiers are the strongest proponents of this theory. Although there are plenty of anecdotal reports, there are very few published results that show the total drops at the beginning of a series of farming runs and the totals late in the series. Well, I think we have covered this quite well in the first part of the video. There is no sign of decreased drops, so I strongly disagree with this one. Okay, speculative. The drop rate is affected by external factors, too many players farm in the same area, time of day, example peaking or hitting minimums every 3 hours. I can't test this one, but I believe in this theory, at least in the first point. So you may remember back when speed clears were going hard around 2009-2010, especially the underworld speed clears, Temple of the Ages, full of people, several districts, etc. Now I remember farming smite crawlers kind of sucked during those days, many no ecto runs, and it really felt like too many players were farming the same spot again and again. And I can't prove it, just saying this from my own experience, but I feel like the number of players can influence this. Time of the day also influences the number of players, so to me these are the same things, but no idea about the every 3 hours part. The drop rate decreases if your character or account does a lot of farming. This clearly affects drop rates for treasure. This cannot be confirmed for full drops, see above. Strongly disagree again on the farming part. The treasure chest one is 100% true. You will get less and less gold coins and worse drops from treasure chests if you open too many of them in a row, but I think the solo farming part is simply not true. Suggestions. Using these suggestions can mitigate the effect of the anti-farm code. Avoid killing several fools at once, try to limit the usage of AoE and mass DOT skills, make a reasonable pause between kills. I strongly disagree with this one again, just do more runs and you will see better runs again, good and bad runs follow each other randomly. When possible, try to add leechers to party. With the proper planning of a farming route, you will get more drops while they will get points/bounties from resurrection shrines. There is controversy as to the effects, if any, of leechers on drop rates. So I have never noticed the difference, but who cares? If you can help someone and do your farming at the same time, just do it. After entering the area, avoid rushing to a foe with a valuable drop like a boss. Kill some unimportant foes to be sure that the normal drop rate is restored. Yes, this is 100% sure, however I only tested it on regular foes. They dropped less items. I wonder if greens and elite tomes behave the same way. This might be a good topic for a future video. It's not listed here, but some people will recommend changing districts or changing characters, but I don't think those have an effect on solo farming. And I haven't seen anything about events or favor of the gods on the anti-farm code wiki page, but I think they are also an important factor here, and I have made my own tests. Take a look. Obviously I couldn't do sufficient runs since the duration of favor is very limited, but I think this data is enough to estimate what favor does. So my theory is that favor doubles the number of gold rarity items, and these numbers are all very close to number 2, and I believe if I could have done more runs, they were all closer to this value. Maybe I'm wrong and this number is somewhere between 1.5 and 2.5 or something like this, but it's very clear that favor increases the gold drops by a lot. If you want to know if favor has effects on other drops too, take a look. Personally, I don't see a big difference in any of the drops here, but hey, feel free to disagree, the amount of runs could be higher again. Now let's see if a special event like Lucky to Reach Week has an effect on the drops. You will see an increased amount of total drops, but that's pretty much everything. Again, I don't really see a significant change in any of the items, and this also proves that the event only drops are only extra drops and they don't reduce your normal drops, so you get them as extra, not instead of other items. Right. There you have it, folks, my thoughts and or my theories on the anti-farm code topic. Feel free to disagree with any of these, but to me the anti-farm code is basically two things: the loot scaling mechanic and the low drop rate on the first few enemies when you start killing foes in a new area. Farming the same area again and again will not result in diminished or in decreased drops, but there are ups and downs as the RNG works. Slow kills generate more drops, but mostly white rarity items and trophies, and honestly you don't really benefit much from this due to the time factor, ergo fast kills are still better. In my opinion, the number of players farming the same area can also influence the drops, but I can't prove it or disprove it myself. The time of the day, the district, the leecher are all very speculative, hard to prove as well. Special events increase the overall drops, but they don't increase or decrease most regular items. The event only drops are just a nice addition, but that's all. And finally, the favor of the gods increase the amount of gold rarity items you get, and you can expect roughly twice as many gold items, but in my opinion favor has no effect on other items. Anyway, this was my anti-farm code video. I hope you liked the drop research stuff. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to share the video because I will share the spreadsheets only after 10,000 views. So see you later, guys.